Alrighty, it's 12:03. We will go ahead and get started. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Taylor Vogt. I'm the Community Corrections Rep 2 in the Office of Probation and Correctional Alternatives. I want to welcome you to our first Lunch and Learn series event. This is one of 6 events we'll be having over the course of the next 3 months. The Lunch and Learn series is a partnership between 2 units within the Office of Probation and Correctional Alternatives, our Vocation, Education, Employment, and Reentry unit, as well as our Alternatives to Incarcerations unit. So like I mentioned, this is the first of 6 events, all of which you can register for on the flyer that was sent out, and reminders will be sent the week leading up to each of the events. Before we go ahead and get started, I just wanted to cover just a couple technical issues for this event. If you have any questions throughout the event, you can throw them in the Q&A box. You may have to hit a drop-down menu at the top of your training screen to get to the Q&A box, or you can throw them in the chat as well. If you have any technical issues, please place any issues or concerns in the chat box. You can remain muted the entire time throughout the Lunch and Learn, and you no need to turn your cameras on, as I will be turning mine off once I am done giving you the welcome address. Before I introduce our panelists, I want to introduce Executive Deputy Director John Adams to give opening remarks.
Thank you so much, Taylor. As Taylor mentioned, I'm John Adams. I'm the Executive Deputy Director of the Office of Probation and Correctional Alternatives, and I want to take this opportunity to welcome everyone on behalf of Deputy Commissioner and Director Robert Macarone. Bob had a state-level planning meeting and unfortunately could not attend the opening of this, but he did want me to send his well wishes in regards to all the participants of this important training. And this, of course, is the first of 6 in the Lunch and Learn series, and it is our effort at OPCA to continue the important engagement with the CRTF, ATI, and probation professionals in New York State. And I do want to take this opportunity to acknowledge the efforts of OPCA's ATI and VARE units to prepare and coordinate these Lunch and Learn series. And lastly, I want to thank all of you for your participation today and taking time out of your busy schedules to attend this important training. And back to you, Taylor, to proceed with the presentation on today's Lunch and Learn topic of virtual job fairs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have 2 panelists with us today. First, Rich Turner. He's the Workforce Development Manager from Monroe County, and Darnell Rhodes, the Monroe County Reentry Task Force Coordinator. They are both going to be presenting on the virtual job fairs that have been occurring out in Monroe County. Rich is going to provide some background on how they got to where they are with the events and how these events have grown and expanded as New York State has reopened over the last several months. And Darnell is going to touch base on the effects of COVID-19 on employment with the task force and the successes and some of the hurdles and obstacles that he and his staff have had to overcome as it relates to employment, and how these job fairs have served been a really great tool for him to utilize. At the end of our panel discussion, we will have an opportunity for questions. Like I mentioned, please throw any questions you may have throughout the presentation into the Q&A or the chat box, and we will address them at the end of the presentation. As John Adams mentioned, this event is, yes, being hosted by the VARE unit and ATI, but our guests that are joining us today come from all areas within reentry, probation, and corrections, as well as parole. And we understand that every group has a need to have these outreach events and how important it is to have these events. And with job fairs specifically, we have asked our CRTF as part of their work plans to engage the community in events, whether that's job fairs, education events, health fairs, any type of outreach to the community is an important tool not only for our county reentry task forces, ATI programs, but any program within the state that utilizes community corrections, probation, and parole. Doing this not only gives employers the thought or idea to come in to do a job fair, but it also educates all of our community partners on what is available and what is out there. There are many different ways to do community outreach and education events, not only job fairs, just one idea. There's also websites. You can have distribution lists, listservs, flyers, utilize Facebook, social media. There's many different methods of pushing information out to our community partners and engaging them on what is available in the community. I'm going to turn the next piece of the presentation over to Rich Turner to talk about the job fair specifically.
Thank you, Taylor, and thanks for having me. On behalf of Monroe County Executive Adam Bella, I want to thank everyone for coming today and talk about our Recruiting on the Road program and how we switched it during the pandemic. As you can see on this slide, the pre-COVID-19 impact on employment here. March 12th was our last in-person job fair. That was on a Thursday at Empire State College. We had about 20 businesses and a little over 115, 120 folks that came out for that event. And then obviously the world really changed dramatically after that. It was during that event that I was talking to a colleague who is a recruiter, and he said, you know, if we're not going to be doing it in person for the next couple of months, and we thought it was only going to be about a couple of months, he said, have you ever thought about doing anything like a resume drop? And so we said, you know what, let's take a look into that. Obviously, being this last minute thing that no one would have expected prior to this year, we didn't have anything sophisticated really built in for virtual events because it is rather costly. So we said, how can we kind of, you know, do this on the cheap or do this for almost no cost, because we in Monroe County don't really charge our businesses for anything. So we started creating virtual events. It started with a resume drop, where we call it the online recruiting session, and it has blossomed into a bunch of different events that we've done. We've done the virtual online, and we've done the Zoom room where we kind of recreate the job fair table, and then we've now done some drive-through events, and later, actually tomorrow, we're going to be doing our first in-person socially distant events. Right now, a lot of manufacturers, health and human service providers in Monroe County have been hiring ever since COVID hit, and they continue to hire. We currently have hundreds of jobs open as well. But I will say one of the biggest parts of these that has made this program extremely successful for us is our partner network, and I know Taylor's a part of that. I know Darnell Rhodes from Delphi Rise, who will be presenting later, he's a part of that, as I think some people in the room are also a part of that as well. You know, we have over 350 people we share every job fair and every opportunity with, including DCJS and CRTF. You know, we didn't recreate the wheel, we just found another use for it maybe. And that's really one of the things that we really enjoyed doing. So far to date, we've had more than 30 events. These events are specific to one company at a time. We are also very customizable for the companies. And we've had more than 600 people directly applied to positions at these companies. That's an average of about 20 people per event. And like I said before, all these companies are offering jobs. We work with companies who are currently hiring, not just collecting and waiting for another day in the future. So our first type of an event would be our resume drop, and we're currently doing one for the U.S. Census 2020. Right now, they still need a couple enumerators and then people who are going to be tallying those results as we get into the last week or so of the census. For this, you know, we set up that Eventbrite, and then the person who applies can directly connect to that recruiter from us. And with something with the census, where it's a very big national organization, you know, we have the connections locally here in Monroe County in the greater Rochester region to, you know, to say, oh, I have this person from Greece that wants to connect. And, you know, they submit their application online. It goes kind of off into the ether, for lack of a better term. And now that, you know, we can direct them to our connections over there at the census, and then they can follow up in a better, timely manner and give that person a lot more hope for where their application is going into. our next event, like I said, this was actually very innovative. Our company, Jackson Hewitt, came with us, and this is that job fair table from the Zoom room, and this is actually going to be in person. We had the Zoom last week for Jackson Hewitt, and that was part 1, and then tomorrow we'll be doing part 2 in person. So this is where registrants will really hear directly from that company. We'll have that person from Jackson Hewitt or any other company that we've worked with. They would directly, present like they would at a job fair table, kind of give that elevator pitch, for lack of a better term. And, we also do a PowerPoint presentation that we would send out to all the registrants and people who come, because we do have some people that come last minute, some people that don't register that we hit on our job seeker list as well. Our job seeker list, as I failed to mention earlier, is about 3,000 or so just from Monroe County, and our partner network has it in the tens of thousands for the region. And so this is very nicely done from everybody, and tomorrow's in-person, socially distanced event, I think, is going to be really well, because Jackson Hewitt has quite the big area, and we can serve about 10 people at a time over the 2-hour span. So, we'll have a waiting area as well as the, informational and training area for that one. And then one of the other events we've done is the drive-through, and we also call it the walk-up job fair as well. That's for people who maybe, need to take the bus, or, maybe need to be dropped off for it. We make sure that all of our staff at all of our in-person events, whether it be the in-person socially distant and or drive-through, we have our mask, we have our hand sanitizer, we have mask and hand sanitizer for folks who are, coming with us. We have giveaway pens, so if someone's using a pen, they get to keep it. We're not going to keep on transferring many materials, and any materials that do get transferred are automatically, for lack of a better term, sanitized for everyone's protection for this. So I'm going to point to the one that we did for the ARC of Monroe. We know that ARC is in a lot of communities across New York State. We did a job fair, drive-through for them. We had about 17 people attend to that. They had more than a dozen offers come out of that event in just a couple of weeks following, and at least 5 confirmed hires. We were very happy about that. My team, greeted people as they came into the parking lot. We took their name, we took their information, contact information. We gave them the one sheet of paper to fill out with their keepsake pen. Then they drove up to the second tent, which was manned by the ARC of Monroe. And the ARC, basically answered any questions that they had while this person could stay in the comfort of their car. And then they drove off, and the ARC followed up with, as we said, lots of job offers and, at least a handful of confirmed hires. And one of the other events that we've done in addition to our job seekers is we've helped our businesses and our partners with informational events. Excuse me. And these are targeted really to help the businesses hire folks and help the folks who may need supportive services. For example, we're doing one on the 30th of this month that we have about 80 people registered for already. It's going to be with the Strengthening Working Families Initiative. So if anyone here is from Monroe County, you can go to the SWIFI, that's SWFI, monroe.info.eventbrite.com to sign up. And what SWIFI will do is they'll provide assistive services for folks who are getting into low to middle skilled jobs. And these services provide anything from daycare and transportation. If it's health fields, they can go from, buying scrubs and buying tools for other fields and manufacturing that they may need. It really helps a lot of folks who may need that extra few bucks or that extra help with daycare or transportation, really get into the workforce. And we're very excited for this event. This is our highest event for all of our informational events so far. So we're hoping to hit the Zoom quantity of 100 people by the time that event rolls around next week. And like I said, we're just very excited to bring these resources to the businesses as they continue to reopen and, hire and help people out for that. And, like I said before, we couldn't really be as successful if it weren't for our partner network. And I know that Taylor, being a part of that, she reached out to us for this event, and we're very grateful for that to present to everybody in the virtual room today. And we're very grateful for other partners like Darnell that we've worked with for the last several years that do a really good job working with those in the area who need the assistance and the other programmatic issues that they have to deal with as well. So I'm going to turn it back over to Taylor and then Darnell.
Thank you so much, Rich. The one thing that I keep coming back to with these events, specifically the job fair table to the Zoom room, and how you've been able to essentially move what happens at a job fair table minus the pens, minus, you know, the stress balls, I've made that joke a couple times now, to a Zoom room, and you're still able to accomplish all the questions, all the information exchanges from the applicant to the employer, and I think that's really important. So thank you so much for presenting on all of the different events that you have been spearheading out in Monroe County.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Of course. Moving on to Darnell. Darnell, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Taylor. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here with us. Like Taylor said, my name is Darnell Rhodes. I'm the Monroe County Reentry Task Force Coordinator. I just wanted to kind of touch base on how these virtual job fairs have affected our reentry program here in Monroe County and also the clients that we work with on a daily basis. So since COVID started, as everyone knows, it's kind of changed and a lot of times added to the workload, the needs of the client, you know, what we will need to provide to help make them successful. And finding employment was a big part of that. You know, prior to COVID, a lot of times we would refer clients out to different training programs. We also offer a training program in-house. And then we normally just kind of help search around for, you know, different opportunities for the client to look into and apply to and things like that. But a lot of it was kind of on their plate. As long as they felt ready for it, we'd let them apply and then kind of follow up as needed. Since COVID began, obviously everything has kind of went virtual on us, and that brought up some pretty big barriers for the clients that may not have been familiar with it and may have served an extensive amount of time and came out and maybe not, you know, applied to jobs online or created a resume online and things like that. With that, kind of added to my team's workload, you know, taking the time out to make sure that they know they can try to still apply to jobs, even though many people think that, you know, there's no one hiring or I'm not going to get hired, especially now because of my record and what's going on with COVID. A lot of times, and this is a quote, a client would come in and they'd sit down with me, and during the intake, we'd kind of go over what the needs are and what they're looking to get done coming out. A lot of times they would say, I want to work when all this blows over. And that would always kind of stick with me because, you know, working with our partners and Rich and his team, we knew that there were a ton of jobs out there. It's just a matter of finding them and getting the information for them and applying to those. So this has been a great way to kind of open clients up to that. The simplicity of the referral process and the follow-up process has been awesome, not just for the clients, but for us as well. Really all that we need to do is create an email for the client to be able to register and then give them the information for the job fair, whether it's the drive up, the walk up, any of those, and then they can kind of carry it out from there, you know, obviously with guidance from us if need be. And that has been large beyond words. I can't even explain the amount of follow-up that we've had with that. I think, and we talked about it before, I think a big part of that is just the comfortability. And coming out, you know, many of our clients haven't had jobs before or they've had spotty employment. So just being able to come out, work with us, you know, obviously we'll explain the situation to them and how it's going to look. Them just being able to, whether it's walk up, drive up, or even a virtual job fair, it's just a little bit less intimidating for the client to pursue, you know, rather than going to an in-person job fair with, you know, maybe 15 different agencies sitting there. They might feel like a deer in the headlights, or, you know, maybe not just confident enough that they're going to get the job. So this has been useful in trying to kind of transition the client into the work field. So responses from the clients have been great. Like I said, I actually have not heard any negative feedback on the programs. I have a quote from a client I actually talked to yesterday about one of the job fairs last week, and I asked him how it went, and his response was it was easy. So I had to kind of, you know, dive into that a little bit and see how it went and things like that. But what came out of it was just that it was a little bit more comfortable. They were able to just walk up, get some information, and kind of recognize that they are just talking to people, and that, you know, those people may need the client for work. So now, moving forward, both me and my team are referring any clients that we have that are eligible to work. we're trying to utilize, this partnership with Rich and his team as best we can because we've seen such great outcomes from it. I would say we have about 4 or 5 clients in total that we've been in contact with. Just remember, weekly these are running, so there's probably also a couple more that just haven't gotten back to us on it yet. But we have about 4 to 5 clients that we've confirmed are in contact with potential employers. But what I want to touch base on is what stuck out to me more, and that's through the relationships that Rich has kind of been able to build with these employers. Him and his team have kind of made it so if one of our clients can't get the job for whatever reason, whether they just don't fit, maybe their charge doesn't line up with the position that they're looking for, that client still hears back from the agency. And I know a lot of people in here may know how important that is. But for the people that we work with, a lot of times they're putting out 10, 15, 20 applications and they don't hear one call back. They don't get any response, and that kind of hurts morale, especially when people come out and they're driven to get to work quickly. So that has been, I think, the biggest part of it is the personable effect of it, and just being able to stay in contact whether or not they are offered a position. So the partnership on these job fairs, like I said, didn't only ease our workload relative to employment, but it seems that it's kind of encouraging the clients, it's driving the clients to be better and to keep going, whether or not they do get the first or second or fifth job that they apply for. So that's kind of all that I had to share. I hope you guys have been able to take something out of this and can maybe implement it in some way in your area if you aren't from Monroe County. But now I'll pass it back to Taylor, and I believe she will be facilitating some questions. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Darnell. Rich, there is a question in the chat box. So folks, the Q&A box doesn't seem to be working. My apologies. So if you do have a question for Rich or Darnell, please utilize the chat box and I will voice them over for both of our panelists. Rich, could you briefly just talk about how would whether that's a county reentry task force or an employment program or an API program or anybody begin the process of creating a walk-up or drive-through job fair? Is there a step-by-step explanation of the process so folks can learn how you do this important work?
Yeah, definitely. I can give kind of the nuts and bolts, the nuts and bolts demonstration of this. So what we've always done, whether it was in person, virtual, or any of these new events that we've done, we've always used Eventbrite as our registration site. It's free. It's very user-friendly. You can upload some graphics. You can do hyperlinks. You can do even your webinar page for when you're doing your virtual event. So it's very easy and user-friendly. So when a company would come to me, for example, I'll use Jackson Hewitt. We identify what their needs are and how they want to kind of go upon looking for some folks. And so we always ask the company, the only things we need from you, because all of our services in Monroe County Workforce Development are no charge to the business. We say, we need, obviously, we're going to create a flyer. And a few people in this room have probably gotten those flyers at least weekly from me. We have a template that's been approved by the county administration so that we don't have to keep on, going for approvals and all this other stuff. So we make it very easy on us. We make it very easy on everybody else. And then once we create that flyer, we create that time frame of when we're going to open up that recruiting window via Eventbrite. It's usually about 2 weeks, usually 14 to 17 days. So it gets out there. There's always an overlap from the prior week's event, but people are starting to really subscribe to it. And then once we fulfill that company's needs, so when they want to do a Zoom, we have a Zoom account that we'll book. We make sure everything's kind of controlled in-house. And then, we tell that company, give us your links to your available jobs and give us the information that really sells people. Like, what are you trying to sell someone on the job? Whether it's for the Arc of Monroe, they do a $1,000 bonus for personal care, home health, personal care, and other assistance. I can't remember what the job is, but it's $250 per quarter. So we want to make sure people know that. That's a big selling point. When a lot of people are hiring direct care professionals, this company has a bonus. So that's obviously a huge incentive. And then we advertise it to to our network. And we have everyone from, you know, partners in government, local municipalities, the Reentry Task Force, the library system's been huge for us. You know, and then just Rochester Works, which is a local one-stop provider, and everyone's got one. There's 33 one-stops throughout New York State. You know, and even neighboring one-stops, because if you're familiar with the Rochester area, you know, we're a few minutes from the Finger Lakes Works, and we're a few minutes from the Glow Works, you know, so we tell people, you know, I know people that live in Monroe County and work in other counties and vice versa, so we want to make sure that we're not leaving any stone unturned. And, you know, we send it out, and I send personalized emails. I'm not sending, you know, an info@Monroe County or a workforce@Monroe County address. It is my address, richardturner@monroecounty.gov. People know it's coming from a human. I always invite everybody, whether it's a job seeker or the business, please directly link up with me. If I can't help you, Hanif from my team will. You know, we're a staff of 2 people, and we want to make everything personable. We want to make everything as helpful and easy as possible. And then once we get the registrations through Eventbrite for these events, you know, we have that list of names and emails. And for the people that come to the virtual event or the in-person event, or the people that, you know, can't make it, we know, we tell them, you're going to get the information regardless, because, you know, sometimes life happens, you can't make an event, whether it's a virtual or an in-person event. So it doesn't mean you should be shut out of the information that you need about a job here and that connection to the recruiter or the HR professional from that company. So we want to make sure it's customizable for anyone that's really looking to do this. You know, we've already had talks with other counties in the Finger Lakes and Western New York region. You know, I know that they're going to put up our emails at the end. Please feel free to reach out. We'll kind of give you the nuts and bolts a little more over the phone. You can always, you know, come to any of our events. If you subscribe to Monroe County on Eventbrite, you'll see we have a few up. You know, it's customizable. It's really user-friendly. I'm not the most tech-savvy person, so for me to say it's user-friendly means most people in the room should find it user-friendly, to be quite honest. And that's really the way we go about it.
Rich, have you found that after doing a few of the events that you've had other companies reach out to you to want to do the same thing, or do you find that you have to do much of the reach out to these particular companies?
No, you know what? At first when we started doing this, I started, you know, I have a database of about 900 business contacts in Monroe County. And when I first started doing this, I hit our frequent flyers to our in-person job fairs, right? So I probably hit about 100 of these companies up. And there was a little skepticism at first, to be quite honest, because it was new and no one's ever done it. And it was COVID and everything was like, well, we don't know exactly what's going on. We have found with these events, we have out of the 30 or so businesses that we've worked with, about 10 or 12 of them, I believe, are brand new to us this year. So they've heard it from colleagues. They've heard it from our partners at Rochester Works. Also, another thing that we have found is, so if I have a company that's hiring for direct support professionals, and we'll just say for argument's sake, this is company A, and company A is hiring for that, and company B never wanted anything to do with this, but then they hear from their colleague at company A that, oh yeah, we have like, you know, 10 people join us on our Zoom room, and I'm interviewing 3 of them right now. Company B all of a sudden starts contacting us, which is kind of cool. You know, so we know we're not the only person that does this, and we're the only person right now doing it in Monroe County. We know we're not the only person that can help, you know, bring the job seekers to people. But it's kind of cool because when we work with a lot of companies, and I didn't know this until about a year or 2 into this job. You know, if they're at a job fair and they're paying for a table at most of these job fairs, not county job fairs, but other job fairs, and they get one hire out of it, they're extremely happy. You know, we have a lot of these events where we're getting a couple of hires or at least a few offers, and they're over the moon because it doesn't cost them anything except for a little bit of their time. And we are doing the bulk of the work, but we're also in partnership. But we have found a lot of companies, you know, they see a similar company doing it, and then all of a sudden I'm getting a call. Or Hanif and my team is getting a call. So that's kind of cool. And the other counties that reached out to us when they saw it were like, hey, how do you do this? Let's, you know, go step by step. And I've had those meetings done too. So it's really cool to see the program grow, and our connection list has grown as well, and more people are getting jobs, which is even the best part of it.
That's great. And I know just a concluding point on that topic is you had mentioned in one of the job fairs, one of the companies was actually incentivizing folks to apply for the position just because they know there's competition and things like that. So that's also very interesting to see during a time of COVID that there is still that incentivizing the signing offers and things of that, you know, during this time period.
And for the most part, it's been for essential type positions, you know, positions that are needed, mostly health and human services, some manufacturing. But we tell every company, you know, and these companies, they're all very sharp. They know our competition has used these, or our competition has raved about it or has done job fairs. They know, and one of the things they do tell me, they go, you know what? You know, we know that company A did this, us as company B got to set ourselves aside, so how can we help draw more people and even, you know, even steal from that audience, so to speak, for lack of a better term, you know, to kind of get qualified folks in the room. And it's been really, really fun to watch and really useful for us to see.
That's great. Let me just check the chat to see. Okay, just we'll leave the chat open just for a few more minutes if anyone has any last-minute questions. I did want to let everyone know that this was recorded and it will be posted to the DCJS website at some point in the future. So if you do need to refer back to them, I have put our email addresses on here for any other further contact you may want with either myself, Darnell, or Rich. Any other questions before we conclude our first Lunch and Learn? Alrighty, I will take that as a no. Well, thank you all so much for joining us and appreciate all the technical assistance in the beginning of the presentation. I want to thank Darnell and Rich for joining us. You guys were incredible and you're doing some really great work out in Monroe County, and I really appreciate you taking the time to share all the work that you're doing. So thank you all so much. Everyone stay safe, stay healthy, and we will talk soon.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Taylor.